This thing is a metal ring about 5 inches in diameter with 8 spokes, containing a smaller ring halfway in the radius and a tiny ring in the center. My coworker bought it from a homeless man for $25. The base is connected to a flat bracket with a singular pin holding it together. The bracket piece has 4 holes on the corners, with 2 opposing holes equipped with small screws. What is this thing? It looks like an old spider sight of a World War II Bofors or Oerlikon anti-aircraft gun. When a ship gets decommissioned, various fittings from it such as gun sights, valve handles, the ship's bell, the ship's wheel, etc., often get removed and turned into souvenirs for the crew. I would 100% keep one of these for a neat desk ornament. What is this wood and brass item about 8 to 10 inches long? It sits slightly on a platform, and it does not come apart. It is one piece, and I suspect it is pretty old. I found it in my grandma's attic in southwest Pennsylvania. She used to collect southwestern items. Not sure if that is helpful. Any ideas? It's a knife and fork carving set, made in India around the 1920s. If you press those brass parts that stick out over the handles and pull the handles at the same time, a knife and a fork will be released. I remember one from my childhood. We had a similar gift from a family friend who got it from India. I picked this up at a thrift store. It's made of wood with carvings along the sides. It has leather and what I assume is sinew, attaching that thin strip of wood, roughly 2 feet by 1 foot and possibly Native American. I checked it out and couldn't leave it behind after seeing how unique it was. I had never seen anything like this. What is this thing? I reached out to a local friend of mine who happens to be Native American. She has confirmed that it's definitely a cradle board. She thinks that the legs would have picked up somewhere in their travels and then built around it. She thinks it dates to mid-1800s. She has confirmed that that is the sinew that it's built with as well. It's maybe for people who had to set the baby down as they worked to harvest. What is this small silver dish with 2 wooden handles and little feet? About 8 centimeters in diameter and not heavy at all. I have 2 of them, but don't know if there were more at some point. I found them in an old dish cabinet. What could this be? It's an ember bowl. Presumably it was made in Spain from the 18th to the 19th century. These were used to hold smokeless charcoal to light tobacco in pipes. Before the advent of striking matches, the wealthy households of the era would have had very long tables, and after the ladies had withdrawn to allow the men their business, they would have been brought in with burning embers from the kitchen. One would be placed at each end of the table, and the gentlemen would have passed it down each side, so each could light their cigar, with the brandy following suit. Hence the long handles. What are these little holes in every pew at a church? This is a Presbyterian church built in 1850 if that helps. They told me they were for candles. I'd imagine it'd be dangerous to put lit candles there, but maybe you could just store your candles there until it was time to light them. What are these exactly for? They're for empty communion cups. They give you a little cup of wine or grape juice and a little piece of bread or cracker for celebrating the Last Supper. Some churches do it once a month and some do it differently. The cups are plastic these days, but they used to be glass. You'd leave them there to be collected and washed. My church used glass until maybe 10 years ago. What are these 12 handmade convex glass objects in an old wooden box with a brass and steel stand? The box is around 12 inches long. The stands have a tiny reflective prism within. My guess is educational equipment to demonstrate light refraction. Does anybody know what this is? It's a camera lucida, an optical device used as a drawing aid by artists and microscopists. Patented in 1806 by the English chemist William Hyde Wollaston, it projects an optical superimposition of the subject being viewed onto the surface upon which the artist is drawing. The artist sees both the scene and drawing surface simultaneously, as in a photographic double exposure. This allows the artist to duplicate key points of the scene on the drawing surface, thus aiding in the accurate rendering of perspective. What is this small wooden block with one rounded side I found in an antique steamer trunk? Approximately 3.5 by 4.5 inches. One side was once covered with paper that is torn away, and the other side reads "Don't monkey with anything on this desk." Also etched on the side Ozark Crafts. The torn paper looks similar to the liner of the steamer trunk where it was found. Does anyone have a clue? It's an old ink blotter minus the handle from the 1960s. A handheld rocking device used to absorb excess ink when writing with a fountain pen. In the 18th century, before blotters were invented, the preferred method was sprinkling salt over freshly written text to speed up the drying process. What is this thing that appears to be some type of blacksmithing tool? It is at least 150 years old. It looks like hammered steel and is about 3.5 feet long. It has a hinge next to the round metal plates, presumably to press things between the two discs. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get an image of the inside. It's mounted on the wall of a family member's house, and it was already mounted there when they moved in. The only thing I can say is it seems heavy. The square metal bars that seemed like handles looked maybe half or 3/4 inch thick. The disc looked maybe 6 or 8 inches in diameter. Any idea what it is? It's a wafering iron from the 16th century or earlier. These plates are engraved, incised, or punched with designs and inscriptions, which would be impressed into the wafer when in use. The long handles serve to keep the user at a safe distance from the fire. Their use originated in Umbria in Italy in the late 15th century. Some irons were used to make Eucharistic wafers for the Mass and are decorated with religious imagery. Many other surviving irons were used to make wafers or waffles to be eaten at weddings, baptisms, and festivals, particularly on the Sunday before Lent. What is this old wooden hand-powered machine from China? It seems like some kind of cotton gin because of the top-loading chute and the hand crank. However, China isn't well known for its cotton, so I think it's a clothing washer. But I'm still not sure because the chute is so small. What is this thing? It's a wooden winnowing machine circa 1800s or earlier. It is used for separating grain from chaff. It can also be used to remove pests from stored grain. In its simplest form, it involves throwing the mixture into the air so that the wind blows away the lighter chaff, while the heavier grains fall back down for recovery. I found this odd-looking artifact in a 19th to 20th century themed restaurant, about 35 inches long and 12 inches wide. It's a metal cage with a clamping action by pulling the handle. I asked the waitress, but she didn't know what it was either. Could it be an old-school version of a sealant gun? What is this thing? Please tell us in the comments. Thanks for watching. Let's make life fun.